the intricacies of your own self. Very often we go through life not even understanding who we are. So when you consciously take some time and just reflect, hey, who am I really? What am I really here for? What I've found is that these breathwork techniques are incredibly powerful in helping bring the mind back to the present moment. When you try not to do something, that is what persists in the realm of your mind. So that the answer there is to just let it be, observe it. And this is where the breath plays such a vital role. The breath bridges that gap between the body and the mind. It helps the mind take, okay, a step back, relax. Because the more you tell ourselves to relax, it doesn't work. I've tried this. When I have an early morning flight to catch, and I'm like, I need to sleep. I need to sleep. It doesn't work, right? You actually stay awake, and you're tired in the morning as well. But when you take a few deep breaths in and out, you'll find that the nervous system automatically calms down, and you're able to find that rest that you need as well. So remember, the breath has this great secret. It holds this great secret. It can help manage your thoughts, manage your emotions better. You cannot control the mind at the level of the mind. This is why many people struggle with meditations. Why? Because for the exact reason what you shared, Nate. It's like you tell the mind to stop thinking. Okay, don't do this, don't do that. Doesn't listen. And it's like fighting with yourself. You're hitting your head against a brick wall. But if you're able to harness the power of the breath, then you find that it naturally brings you to a state of relaxation. This is what the sky breath meditation is all about. You use the power of the breath, the harmonizing power of the breath, to calm down your thoughts and your emotions, to expel those stored toxins, the trash that we store in our mind, in our brains. We've preciously collected from everywhere, like you said, right? Consciously and unconsciously, somehow. Yeah. You expel those. And then when you just sit for a few minutes, you find meditation happens to you. It just becomes that state of calm.
And it's something that you cannot force. It's kind of like love. Love
Yes.
can't be begged, bought, borrowed, or stolen. It can only be given away and allowed. And meditation is really, for me, it's one of the greatest forms of self-love because, like you
Absolutely.
mentioned, a lot of people never take that opportunity. They're always a human doing, not a human being. And granted, we do need to accomplish things in our lives. Of course, we may have a mortgage to pay, car payments, children to get to school, etc. But can we do that in a state of mindfulness of the here and now? Yes. And meditating every moment is really one of the big goals. And I'm sure that you and Shankar would agree, and Babaji would agree himself, like being present and really aware of your full life and having not just appreciation, but reverence. The fact that we got a chance to take another breath today is a miracle. Because
Mm.
about 150,000 people don't every single day. They took their last breath.
Nate, I think the issue is we try to put this artificial compartment within our own understanding, I would say. See, people say spirituality is not for me. But my dear, you are made up of the spirit. What are you going to do without the spirit? When the spirit leaves, this is just of different elements. It is the spirit that brings the life within us. When we understand, okay, who are we? What are we really? These fundamental questions that I mentioned earlier as well, that is spirituality. And spirituality is not something separate from our daily lives. And very often people say, okay, I'll meditate in the morning, I'll meditate in the evening, and then I have my work, my professional day during the day. It doesn't work that way. You are a spiritual being. Understanding who you are gives you that much more abilities. It unlocks the abilities within you, it unlocks more skills within you so that you can take on all of these challenges that everyday life has to pose in front of us for us to succeed in. So it's really this understanding of spirituality within our lives. I think it's a very subtle, but it's an important distinction for us to think through. We are spiritual beings. And the more we understand about who we are, the better we can live our lives to the fullest, which means being the best friend or the best husband, the best wife, the best father, the best son, the best boss, the best employee, whatever it is, you can be the best. It starts with understanding who you truly are
Mm.
and what you truly are capable of. That confidence, that strength comes when you are able to find that zone of calm from within. And for that, there is nothing like meditation. Meditation is the key for that, to
Ab-
unlock the secrets of our being. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so the founder of the Pyramid Spiritual Society movement um, was so Patriji was a very big fan of two different very important elements. First of all, meditate daily. Second of all, be with your breath. Those were the two very strong tenets of the pyramid spiritual society movement. And I know that you've worked with and you've worked with world leaders, you've worked with executives, you've worked with heads of government. How does mindfulness improve leadership and decision making?
It's a beautiful question you ask, Nate. And very often, the busier you are, the more you need meditation, because the decisions that you take, the issues that you have to deal with, have real time and real world implications, right? They're more consequential, the decisions that you take. And so, what I have found is that what prevents us from taking these good decisions is that our mind is clouded by stress. It is really blocked by a lot of these different distractions that the mind has. And so, when the mind is able to become calm, when these individuals, when these leaders have found the means to be in touch with themselves, to understand their own thoughts, their own emotions better, and connect to themselves, then they're also able to find the source of energy and inspiration from within. And they're able to see the connections around them so that their decision making is not in a vacuum. It's not bereft of the context that is needed, but it is contextual and it is compassionate. It is far sighted. It is not a short sighted decision that they take. And so I found meditation has had a tremendous impact on these leaders and in the way that they not only deal with decision making, but also decide on policies that have longer term impacts for their communities and their nations, even. So I would say the busier you are, the more important it is for you to be able to calm your mind. And I'm sure you all would agree as well, right?
And you mentioned something there that you help develop governance initiatives all over the world. So I was going to ask you what role does consciousness and mindfulness play in creating ethical, effective policies?
When you are conscious, you also become aware of the incredible interconnectedness in this world. Right from this shirt that I'm wearing, which was probably grown by a farmer in Egypt, and it was sewn by a tailor or somebody making this in East Asia or in South Asia, and for it to be shipped all the way from there to here, the captain of the ship that had a role to bring this. When you understand how interconnected we all are today in this world, I'm sure you've heard of the butterfly effect, right? Where the butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon can cause rains in Asia. The whole world is interconnected. And the more aware you are of yourself, you are also aware of these connections that exist as a matter of fact. And when you're aware of these connections, you cannot but feel a sense of belonging. And with that sense of belonging comes a sense of commitment. Gurudev talks about the ABCs of conscious leadership or ABCs of transformational leadership. And it's essentially this awareness of your own self, of your own thoughts, and the role that you play in this larger context. Which brings you to the B. When you become aware of the role that you play, you understand that you belong to a larger community. It's not just your own little nuclear family, me, myself, my brother, my younger sister, whatever, my son. It's not that anymore. It's okay, how can I be of use? How can I create value for a larger community? Not only thinking about lining my own pockets, I'm aware that my actions have profound consequences on the wellness and well being of people around me. And with that comes a sense of commitment, a sense of commitment for a better world, for making the society more livable, more peaceful, more compassionate for everybody around. And this I've seen happen in very many cases. You've had individuals who've gone through these programs and felt that sense of deep connection and taken up the responsibility for their own cities. There's a story of this young girl who ended up becoming the first mayor of her town after having gone through some of these leadership programs, the youth leadership training program that is offered by the Art of Living Foundation. And she was like from a very underprivileged section of the society. It's so inspiring to see what the spirit that is awake can do to improve the lot of everybody around. Absolutely, mate. Spirituality gives you that sense of spirituality and ethics go hand in hand. And with that comes all of these, human values of compassion, friendliness, empathy, love for your fellow human beings. All of these become more prominent in your lives.
Amen. And so I wanted to ask you, as far as, in today's corporate society, and it has been this way for a long time, productivity is often prioritized over well-being. We are seeing a big shift now into servant leadership. So people who are realize that they want to be a heart-led leader, which is a wonderful thing. But there are still a lot of organizations that are just bottom line everything, right? They prioritize the results over the people. So is there something you can do to help organizations integrate both of those things?
Absolutely, Nid. And we offer many of these programs, and we've offered this in many Fortune 500 companies for the last 25 years. It's called the Transformational Leadership for Excellence program, which is the corporate offering of the Art of Living. And what we have done, what we have found is that, see, we spend most of our waking lives with our colleagues at work, isn't it? From the time that you leave home to the time you get back home, it's easily 8 to 10 hours, and we spend most of that with our colleagues. Now, do you want to go through a majority of your life feeling miserable and creating that same sense of anger and frustration for people all around you? I don't think any of us wants to do that. Especially, most of us are intelligent enough to know that's the worst use of our time and our energy. And so, with this program, the TLEX program or the Transformation Leadership for Excellence program, we help on these three different levels. One is leading self, right? Understanding how do you manage your own energy levels? How do you manage your own emotions and thoughts better at work, right? So that you can better connect with one another. The second aspect of this is leading with others. How do you lead with others so that the sum is greater than the individual parts? I'm sure you've heard of that expression, and the sum is greater than the individual parts. So, how do you help that team build that greater sum? How do you help them decide on that vision? And the final module, if you may call it, is leading for impact. And there's a big focus on creation of public value and not just bare bottom line profiteering, but common prosperity. You're not just thinking only about the shareholders, but you're thinking about all the stakeholders in society. And what can we do as an organization to help improve the lot for everybody? Because in that situation, you're thinking about a longer term legacy. You're thinking about longer term success rather than just like short term gains, and where you end up a situation where only a few people get everything and a lot of people have nothing. And that's not sustainable. And people are seeing that more and more. I think there's more conscious organizations today than at any point in history. So I think definitely we are moving in the right direction. And the speed has also increased, I would say, over the last 10 years or so. But there's a lot more to be done, Nate. There's a lot more to be done. And we're so glad that people like you are out there, helping bring this awareness to as many people as possible.
And that gratitude and reverence and appreciation is mutual. I am so grateful for all of us, that yourself included, that have come to the planet at this time and for the help humanity from its truly ultimate divine self, really. And, even from a scientific perspective, there's a lot of things, because I work with a lot of neuroscientists, and I know the Art of Living has worked with a lot of neuroscience professionals as well. Do you know what happens in the brain when we meditate regularly?